Good morning, my little potato chips. How are you? It's wee Paddy from across the shuck. And I've done one of these videos before, but since I've gone to slip joints, I've got more blade shapes that I can show you. And a lot of times people get confused with blade shapes. These are genuine blade shapes. They're not modified. They're not an interpretation of. These that I've got in front of you are blade shapes that have been used for a very long time, especially in the older traditional knives. And all the modern versions of blade shapes are interpretations of these. They'll take a little bit of one, a little bit of the other, put it together and get a new blade shape, because it's very difficult to get a new blade shape that's not already been, invented. And it's like most things, these are just the basic ones that I thought I'll give you a quick run through. If you knew about it, might be helpful. But even if you've been over a long time and you may be stepping into the slip joint world, this is a nice way to start. And the nice thing about slip joints and locking knives as well, and modern knives, is that you can buy these in any price range you want. But I really do suggest, especially if you're thinking of getting into the slip joint world, use the likes of Rough Rider, Marbles. They make all these blade shapes. They're very inexpensive, but it lets you see what blade shape you're more drawn to. And sometimes you have to use them to find out which one that is. So when you start cheap, and then you can go up the price range, like most of us do. We start basic and go up. And it's a great way to learn what to use certain blade shapes for, is if you have one in hand. People can tell you so many things, but until you have it in hand, that's it. I'm not going to talk about any of the modern interpretation of these. If you have any questions, ask me down below and I'll certainly answer them to the best of my ability. But this is called an idiot's guide for a reason. I'm an idiot. So I'm just going to roughly go through them quickly. I'm not going to go into great depth. If you want to know anything more, again, just ask me down below in the comments and I'll answer you. First one, the clip point, the beautiful shape. This to me is one of the most beautiful shapes any knife can come in. And that is the clip point, the beautiful clip down. And they call it the clip because it comes along straight and then it clips down until it meets the rising belly. There's a straight edge, a belly, and then a point. They can come in different shapes to that, but that is the genuine shape of a clip point. They can modify how deep it is, how squat it is. Again, that's all interpretations of a pattern. But this one is the sheep's foot. This next one is the spear point, master spear, master blade, that would have been called in the days gone past. But it is a spear point, and it's very, very simple. It's shaped like a spear. Really simple. But again, they can squat, they can shrink it, make it thinner, they can do all sorts. But it is a spear point because it has that shape. The next one is a Wharncliffe, and there's lots of modified Wharncliffes and all out there, but the original Wharncliffe had a fully straight blade here, right up to the tip, where the blade comes along the spine at the top, comes along and gently swoops down to it, and it meets the flat. It comes down to the flat. So this makes this a great knife for detailed work. And the next four are good details work, but they're all different in their own ways. The next one is a sheep's foot. How it's designated a sheep's foot? It's the same, it's parallel. The spine and the blade are parallel, running parallel, and then towards the end, it just clips down to the point again. The Wharncliffe's a long slope down to the point, which gives you a very specific point. This one is more cut off, but again, great for detailed work. And as I said, they're all detailed work, the next three. So the sheep's foot is designated by it's parallel the whole way along, straight bottom with a blade that comes almost to the end and then swoops down to the clip. A lamb's foot. People get very confused with a lamb's foot. How it's designated? It's wider at the back, less tall at the front. It comes along and it can be rounded. Most of the times it'll be sort of rounded down to the flat spine. And this is where these four of all the original patterns are flat spine. They can't be curved at all, no belly. Otherwise, they're then modified. So it's thicker at the back, thinner at the front. The next one is a ram's foot, which is really just hitting the modern day knives now. It's only this last few years you're starting to see the likes of the lamb's foot and the ram's foot coming back into use. The ram's foot's a great big working knife, designated by thinner at the back, taller at the front. Can you see that, the difference there? Thinner at the back, taller at the front, and it swoops down in a various different ways. But these ones I picked because they're all sort of rounded down. Absolutely great for detailed work. This is great for heavier, for rope work and cutting ropes if you want to do it. Even if you want to use a baton and batten through a sisal rope that's quite tough to cut, you can batten that through it. Not highly suggested in a modern knife, but that's what that would have been used for more than anything else. And these are what I would call the main blades. These next ones are, I'm not going to say they're more modern because I don't know, but these are the ones that people sort of pick to start with. Then we'll go down to the spay blade. I love a spay blade. One, it's a great first aider because if you want to get underneath something, this was used for castrating bulls. But if you're a first aider and you want to get under somebody's clothes, it's a great knife to have that you can just slip under and you know you're not going to cut them because this part of the spay is going forward and this top is going to cut clothing away or anything of that kind. And of course, if you want to castrate a bull, there you go. That's your knife for doing that. The next one is one we're all familiar with, and they call it the little pen blade. And really, it's like a spear point, only the swoop down in the pen comes down a little bit further than the center line. So it's not shaped like a spear, and a shallower belly normally. But this is just it was used for sharpening pens or quills. This is the shape they would have used for cutting the feather down to make a pen. And today's modern, it's this is what I sharpen all my grandkids' pens with, or pencils. Very straightforward, very simple. We all know that. The next one is a drop point. And this is where you have a straight, the belly, but the spine comes down and then just gradually comes down till it meets the belly, and however high you make that up. But as long as this is slowly but surely coming down, it's just called a drop point. If it goes dramatically, it's a clip point. Okay, I think that's quite straightforward. I've done well there. And this is it's called so many different names. It's called the Turkish clip or the California clip. And what it is, it's much like your clip point. It starts flat and then it clips down. But this is a very thin and narrow blade where there's a longer swoop down, where the clip comes down from about halfway normally. Again, there's variations of everything. This is very short, straight, and then a long, gentle climb down to the bottom. Drop, not a climb. Drop down to where it meets. You still get that bit of belly and a longer bit of straight. And the next one, again, becoming more popular. Rough Rider have been doing them. Other companies are doing them. And this is the one-armed opener, which was invented, apparently, at the end of the Civil War in America. And it was for those boys coming back with just one arm. And I'll show you what this is supposed to do. So if I close the knife, a lot of the boys came back with just one arm, because don't forget, the medical science wasn't great then. This little curved end bit would go on the edge of a table, or the jeans, the thick jeans that they would have worn in them days. And what you do is you just pull it open like that. So somebody will want it, sorry for the jerks, but it's a one-hand opener, and then somebody can just put it in their pants. Oh, I jump. When you've been cut enough times, you get very, very careful. But that's what that's used for, with a very bad demonstration of how it works. And then the last but not least in this section is the razor. And it's shaped like this because it's typically like what the old razors were shaped. You had that sort of curved shaped handle, and then you would have used this to shave. You could bring your finger, you go up here, or you can just, it's a razor shape. That's all it is, like a straight razor. And these are becoming, again, more popular now. This is an Ashley Harris. I just think this one's beautiful. This is a showpiece. But it's very thin behind the edge, and you can use it as a knife all day long. But it was for a razor. So there we go. There's 12 of patterns that you mightn't have known the names to. Let me just get that. There we go. What I'm going to do now is show you some different ones. You don't see a lot of this pattern in traditional knives, but it's a tanto. Now, this just happens to have a recurve. I don't have any tantos. But normally, if you think of a tanto, most of the time, well, not most of the time, a lot of the time it'll just be straight here. But a lot of tantos have that curve there, and it's great for cutting ropes and things. It keeps whatever you're cutting, whatever medium, it keeps it in the center of the blade and doesn't let it slip off. And then there's an American tanto has a point here where it just terminates here and then goes up the ways to another point. So you actually get 2 points to cut. If you're opening a box, you don't have to dig in. You can just use this point and gently glide across it. Then you have the Chinese tanto, or the Far Eastern tanto, which doesn't have this point. It'll come along to here and then gradually swoop up to the top. It'll just swoop, but it'll not have a point. It'll be rounded and just go up in the tanto shape. So there's the tanto shape. And again, it can come in all different angles, but that's the basis of a tanto. Another knife that you hear talk about is a rope knife. And this is what I would call a rope knife. It's got the old anchor. This is the Ottermesser version. And the theory behind these were they were issued to people on board ships. Originally, when people were going on ships, they just carried whatever knife they had. But a lot of the captains, fearing mutiny, just snapped the end of their blades off so that they couldn't stab. That was where the rope knife came in. But you can put it down and baton it with a bit of wood to cut through thicker rope. Whether that story's true or not, I don't know. And then you have the sunfish. This is a sunfish, but you have the elephant's toes. And then you have the whaler, which GEC call it. But they were just big, thick knives used for batoning on the back of, a large bits of rope. Again, another sailor's knife. But there's another modern term. And here's one now. This is a cotton sampler, which was made really popular recently by Rough Rider, and a lot of other companies have started to doing it. This is where they used to get a bit of cotton, sample the twist and the pile off it. They could pull it through here and determine if it was good cotton or not, and they could grade it. And also you had this for cutting into a bale and checking out, bringing it out from the centre to make sure that they're not ripping you off on the cotton. So there you go. They're just a selection of blades. Again, if you want to know anything more about these blades, the blade shapes, please ask me down below, and I'm quite happy. I can probably do it more written than I can do verbally, because I talk a lot of twaddle most of the time. And anyway, it's twaddle I enjoy giving you. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's a little bit helpful for those who are maybe just around. And again, please ask me down below. I'll try and explain even better. All right, take care. Paddy's way. Thanks very much.